The Legion of Doom, the world's greatest heroes, greatest villains. Though first appearing in the Challenge of the Super Friends cartoon in 1978, the DC Universe's greatest villains have been teaming up in the comics as early as the Injustice Society in 1947, though one could argue the Monster Society of Evil beat them in 1943. Regardless, DC's greatest villains have gone by different names: the Injustice League, the Anti-Justice League, the Injustice Gang, the Secret Society of Supervillains, but nothing quite as iconic as the Legion of Doom. Today is the Legion of Doom draft. We're doing our 7-character draft for the Legion of Doom. We're dealing with DC Comics villains, so to speak. And this could be any villains or anyone you would put as an antagonist towards maybe who you had set up for the Justice League. It's not necessarily, related. But if somebody else picks something, we can't pick that same character, right? And so the order is going to be Jack, then Drew, then me. We'll see who our picks are.
All right. So I'm going to keep my first pick decently simple here. And then I think from there, it's going to get a little bit weird. So my first pick, very simple. I'm going to go Eobard Thawne. I'm going to go Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash. And the reason why is because the way that I'm looking at this Legion of Doom team, I'm trying to think of like a very specific kind of narrative and vibe in general. And so I like to think of this as a team that Thawne would seek out himself for very specific goals. And I like to think of the way that he would want to tackle, like if he's handling some big scheme in the background that he wants to do, he's picking very specific people in mind. And I think if that's the case, he fits a very leadership type role that, like, I thought about Hunter Zolomon at first, but I thought of him as more of a character that would be so tied to spiting Wally in a way that I thought that Thawne could disconnect from and have a bigger goal in mind. Because obviously Thawne despises Barry, but I also see him as a character that could have his own set of goals that maybe they're tied to, destroying Barry, but they could be a bit bigger beyond that, where he's like, okay, I'm going to seek out people for this. I'm going to keep it very hush hush. It doesn't have to be directly about this. It could be some crazy, ridiculous, super powered energy beam, whatever, any ridiculous Silver Age idea you can think of where he's really going all in. And to me, I think he fits that big scheming plan a bit more than I could see Zolomon doing, which feels like it would be very directly tied to destroying Wally more so. So yeah. I'm going to go Thawne, keep it simple and build from there.
He's way too singularly focused. Zolomon.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Thawne is also unhinged too.
He is. I just imagine him getting a little bit more outside the box. Let me really put a big scheme together.
Okay.
I mean, if the goal is to create the greatest villain team, you got to start with the greatest villain in DC Comics.
No,
possibly
who?
Greatest villain in all of comics. There's only one guy who fits that category, if you're asking me. Sinestro. Sinestro is the greatest villain in all.
Okay.
Sinestro is the greatest villain in DC Comics. I will argue that forever. And I think
this is such a great take, and I'm so glad you said this. Continue.
The thing is, and it's not unique to him, but I think that he embodies this so well, is that he does not think that he's a villain. And I do think that might cause problems with like the rest of the team, because there's going to be stuff that they're doing that he's just like, who the hell am I with? He's always going to find a way to justify it, that what he's doing is better for the universe. And so he can probably take these other villains and, in his mind, kind of, bend them towards his will, that like whatever he is doing, no matter what it is, even if it's completely wrong, he is always going to see it as being for the greater good. He's just trying to scare everybody into being the best version of the universe that he sees, and then I think that that's really what makes him a villain, is that he is not willing to do this democratically. He's not willing to consider outside sources at all. It is what he wants, and it's only what he wants, and that's it. And there is no other way. Plus, he's got the Yellow Lantern ring, so he's super strong.
Yeah, he's the ultimate like a dictator, where I could see so many villains truly, like sometimes when it comes to a certain villain, it's like, yeah, everyone's following him, but it feels like this very almost generic, ha, yeah, we're going to do this with you. With Sinestro, it really feels like a direct perspective of, no, we are absolutely in the right following this ideology. Like this makes sense why Sinestro feels this way, and I'm right behind him. Like I can see a very easy way he would bring together a lot of people.
And that's a great pick. I didn't know where you're going with that.
You thought I was going Joker.
I was afraid you were going Joker, and that's a viable pick. Fair. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to pick Joker for my team. I'll say that. There are certain characters, if you know me, you're just like, yeah, why would I? That's not really a thing. I'm trying to figure out, like, yeah, what angle am I taking this? And I think not as the leader of the team, but I really do like the character of Cheetah.
Yeah.
Especially with Greg Rucka's newest miniseries with Cheshire and Cheetah rob the Justice League. I just love the character of Cheetah. Also, somebody's going up against Wonder Woman. I just think she's cool. She's not a cosmic level villain either. Like, she's not moving planets, but like, she's gonna fuck you up, you know?
Nice. Good pick there. Yeah. I'm going to go with Atrocitus. And the reason why is the way that I look at the way this team would form. To me, I look at somebody like Eobard Thawne as somebody, let's say that this is overall, in general, a ploy to create a very powerful team where he can do things discreetly. And let's say it's to go up against the Justice League and shut them down or shut Barry down, whatever it is. To me, I think he would look at the way he can stay hidden and the way that he can build an army and a place to strategize. I think he would look at somebody like Atrocitus and Yzmal, the planet of Yzmal, as like a place where they can reside. This Legion team would reside to handle things. I think something like that could be really, really interesting. And I think Atrocitus is a character that always gets labeled as, obviously with the Red Lanterns, crazy, angry type character, but there's a lot more to him than that. I think he's a very complex character. I think the way that he looks at the Guardians of the Universe and Oa, and just his anger towards what the Manhunters did to his family and all this stuff. He's a very calculated villain. He's a very, very, almost like a kind of a philosophical guy. He's actually a very, very interesting villain in that regard. And I think he's the kind of guy that could genuinely see where Eobard's coming from and actually like strategize with the guy. Like, to me, these two would be the ones kind of conducting everything. Atrocitus wouldn't be the leader, but to me, it's like the way that I imagine in a Legion of Doom, a Gorilla Grodd and a Lex Luthor discussing things is how I imagine Atrocitus and Eobard Thawne discussing things. Yeah. So I think that could be really interesting. So that's my pick.
Atrocitus too is, I think, similar to Sinestro in that he also doesn't think that he's a villain. Like he just sees sees the Manhunters and the Guardians as having committed some terrible wrong, and he's just trying to balance it.
Absolutely.
In some ways, you can compare that to like real life revolutionaries who are like, maybe the status quo wouldn't say that what they're doing is right, but to them, they're just taking down who they see are the villains.
Exactly. And I think especially his dynamic with Eobard to me would be something where if Eobard's got a very specific and spiteful kind of petty ploy, he understands that, like, Atrocitus understands this. And for Atrocitus, it's like, all right, well, I'll let you do this or I'll help you with this, but you got to let me be able to do this. Like, I look at Atrocitus almost like a revolutionary a little bit, especially in the way that he views other Red Lanterns. Like, he really does kind of view them truly as allies. Like, he really does. And so I can see that as a dynamic where he's like, Eobard's kind of a nut job. Eobard's definitely way more like diabolical than me, but I see this as like, we can help each other out in this regard. Like, my perspective and the way that I'm trying to handle things, there is a trade-off here where we understand each other and what we're both seeking. And so I think that dynamic could be very interesting, where maybe there's moments where Atrocitus does think that Eobard's perspective on things is very unhinged or ridiculous or not worth pursuing. And that might change their dynamic. So I think that could be really interesting.
Yeah.
I also see them not getting along. Like, they can get along, but also not get along. And then they would rip each other apart. Like, I would love to see them go at it.
It would be
You know?
awesome. That's exactly what I envisioned. Yeah.
You actually mentioned my pick while you were talking about, not you, Jack mentioned my pick.
Okay.
While he was talking about Atrocitus. I think a good villain needs to be equally intelligent and strong. That's why people like Bane, as a Batman villain, right?
Yeah.
But Bane's only so intelligent. He's only humanly intelligent, and he's only humanly strong, even with Venom. So you got to go somebody who is more than humanly intelligent and more than humanly strong. I got to have Gorilla Grodd.
Nice. Yeah.
No, I do. I do think that, Gorilla Grodd has an ego, right? Mm-hmm. He rules a people, right?
Yeah.
A whole group, a whole city, right? But, I think that he and Sinestro can find common ground. There might be some petty squabbles around, every now and again, but they can find common ground. And if they don't, it'll be a good fight.
Yeah, I was going to say that's another dynamic where I think the back and forth between those two characters would be very interesting, where there are a lot of things that they kind of do align with, but there would be kind of a little bit of a battle of egos in some regards. That's a very interesting dynamic to see play out.
I mean, you guys are okay. I mean, Drew at least is picking a lot of classics.
I am, yeah. I'm probably not going to deviate from that too much. I don't.
Well, okay, so good thing that I'm going to pick my next one because Drew, I'd be okay. I think there's like a 75% chance that this guy is on Drew's list. I got to go with a classic. I also need this guy is a grade A hater. He is Eobard Thawne is a hater. Black Manta Manta is like D1 hater. He's killing babies. You know what I mean? He will go all out to a fault. He's so smart, but his anger and vengeance towards Aquaman is next level. So I do have to pick Black Manta. And although I'm not a big fan of the Aquaman movies per se, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, his play, I wish they did more with him because he is just such a good actor.
He's good in everything that he's in.
Even in things that aren't that good. It's never him that's the problem,
Yeah.
Never, no.
Yeah. He's one of those guys. He's got several, because he was Black Manta. He was in Watchmen. Yeah. And he was just in Wonder Man, which Wonder Man was awesome. I don't know if either of you saw it. I don't want to get too far into it because I know that's not the focus of this.
I haven't seen it, but I've been very convinced to watch it from what I've seen.
Easily. If we're talking the Disney Plus stuff, top 3 show that they've ever done. If we're talking all of the MCU, top 10. At least.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I know you say that, and we don't have time to go over it. My biggest problem was it just wasn't what I wanted from a show. As far as
exactly what I wanted from a show.
As far as a show is concerned, it is a amazing show from an artistic level. But from an MCU level, for me, it wasn't exactly what I wanted.
That is what I want from MCU television shows, is exactly what they did with Wonder.
I don't want to say things because Jack hasn't seen it, but okay. All right.
Ooh, okay. All right. So the way I'm thinking about it is I'm trying to put together aspects of this where I'm okay, what is an interesting character to throw into the mix where not, because I don't have a necessarily big overarching story in mind, but the characters that are added into this, what could that sprout in terms of stories?
Yeah.
And the character that comes to mind for me when I think about who are random guys that he'd throw together to be this guy could be super important to us in the way that the dynamic could go together. I'm going to go ahead here and pick Dr. Destiny. I'm going to pick Dr. Destiny. I'm going to go Dr. Destiny Basically, nightmare powers guy. And the reason why is because sometimes when Dr. Destiny is shown, he's shown as a character who's pretty insane and doesn't have a lot of control over his powers. Yeah. And I like the idea of him being on this team as a character that at first they almost have to like contain, almost like a character that they're like, all right, leave him in a cell. We're going to talk to him for a bit, but he's pretty unstable right now. We got to be careful, you know? Yeah. And so I think a character like him could be so important to whatever exactly kind of schemes and stuff that Eobard wants to do. But I also think his dynamic in terms of the way that he sees Eobard and Atrocitus go back and forth on plans, I think him into the mix could be interesting because he could be the kind of X factor that kind of screws things up, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Like his powers are so strange and weird that there are so many aspects to what he could be that could be really beneficial to them, but also break all of their plans. Like I could see stories where they are off and they've got this big plan and Atrocitus is kind of concerned with how this will go down, but Eobard's very ambitious. And there's an aspect of the plan that involves Destiny where his powers are supposed to be used in a certain way where it goes way beyond that or way overboard. And now the situation is insanely dire, you know? And I could see situations like that happening where he is such a wild card of situations. And there might be times where he gets it together and he's now suddenly a really important strategic piece because sometimes he becomes that. Sometimes he's very calculated when he's not insane and he's able to put things together. I think that drastic difference of what he could be for that team could be really, really interesting.
So I do have to ask, is this Dr. Destiny from Silver, like the I guess it was like Silver or Bronze Age, like Justice League comics, or are you including that he becomes the character from Sandman?
He's existed past that too.
Yeah, I like the idea that he the character from Sandman a little bit. I think that could be interesting because Silver Age 1 is John D, right? Is that his name? Yeah, John D. I think maybe like a little bit of like a mixture of that because I've always liked the idea of just how unhinged his powers are. I just think that's such an interesting angle. And I think from that, there could just be such interesting aspects to the way that Eobard like views him as a person and just the way that things could either unfold in a really good way or a bad way in the way that they use him. I just think it's an interesting foil where it's constantly super unexpected as to what will happen in regards to how he handles the rest of the team.
I feel like he's both almost like Doomsday in a sense that like, you just release him onto a population, but he's also kind of Jokerish, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And especially with a power where it's all this dream related stuff, there's so much cool stuff you could do with stories with that, especially if there's a very specific instance that Atrocitus or Eobard's thinking of doing. Like there could be moments where maybe he's affecting Atrocitus's dreams in a certain way or affecting his brain or Eobard's, and you get some really interesting character moments from that. Like there's a lot of cool stuff you could play around with him.
Yeah. I'm going with I feel like I need a magic user, Cersei.
Nice.
Yeah, I think the Cersei is just necessary. If there's any theme to these, I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of making this up as I go along.
Yeah.
If there is any theme to this, it's definitely like people who know their hero very well, right? And then
you're going the Justice League Doom sort of thing, like in the animated movie Justice League Doom, where literally the members of the Legion of Doom are exactly the counterparts, essentially.
Right? Yeah. That's why they seem like they're very like, oh yeah, I'm busting out the classics, you know. But like those are the characters who know their respective heroes just so well because they have this long history because they've been around for so long. But also they kind of do. You know, I don't know that Grodd necessarily is the first to come to mind as like a foil to the Flash, right? Yeah. Reverse Flash is probably the best thing to that. Although technically, I think Captain Cold is the foil to the Flash.
I agree,
but I just Cersei is in a lot of ways she is the Wonder Woman villain. And so Yeah, I feel like I need to have a magic user. I've already got like a cosmic character. I've got a psychic character.
Yeah.
And these are, if we're talking about villains, you know, you need people who are scary and threatening. And Sinestro's threatening without the ring, but when he has it, you know, he can instill this fear in you, right? That's threatening. Grodd is physically intimidating. He doesn't need to have psychic powers to crush you, but he does have those psychic powers, and so he can attack you twofold, right? And so Circe, she has just a plethora of magic that she can use against you, and she's very evil. So she definitely is thinking about magic in incredibly nefarious ways. She's going to be using it in ways that, like, let's say they get in a fight with the Justice League, right? Somebody like Barry isn't going to be well equipped for the magic that Circe is going to be using against him.
Right.
It's not something that he can outrun necessarily.
Right.
Yeah, and she would be able to, I mean, she'd shoot between the three of them, they'd be able to reach into somebody's mind, find out what scares them, right? That's Grodd. Manifest it through either Sinestro's ring, right? And then with Circe, she can keep it from being just a construct and make it real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm going to go simply Toyman, Winslow Shot. Because I not only, so the way I'm tackling this Legion of Doom is they're not necessarily the heaviest hitters, but you might not know this Legion of Doom exists until they've enacted their plan, right? Mm-hmm. And I also like the idea that like a no-nonsense character like Black Manta or Cheetah also has a pure nonsense character like Toyman who would want to brand the Legion of Doom like with toys and robots and like that sort of thing. So like he is the tech expert, but he's all about marketing in a way.
True.
Like Black Manta already has a manta ray submarine, but like Toyman would probably be like, let me up your game a little bit, you know?
It's an interesting like angle kind of on like, you talk about like the tech character of like the Justice League. He's kind of like the tech guy of the Legion, you know, and in such a silly branding way where you can see him kind of giving them their like pizzazz, their style in a way that they don't maybe want, but he's emphasizing super. Like he'd be the kind of guy that thinks that the way the Legion of Doom headquarters looks, he's like, we got to amp that up. This is going to be super branding. Like it's going to look so cool. Like I could see that 100%.
Like in real life, or I guess if we're putting real life into this, like why would these villains have an insignia on their chest? Why would they, you know, like Black Manta does not, right? Like he doesn't have a logo, but I can just imagine like,
you need one. He's got the helmet.
Yeah. But like a character like Toyman would be like, why don't we have a logo for the Legion of Doom? He's the one who creates that helmet dome, like structure. I wouldn't be surprised, you know?
The thing that comes out of the swamp.
Yeah. The thing that comes out of the swamp. Right. And it's like, yeah, why wouldn't he? And like, Toyman would also be the kind of character that would create like mech suits for each person. Like someone like Black Manta would be like, well, I don't want a mech suit. Like, why would Cheetah want a mech suit? But like, he's like, no, you got a Cheetah mech suit that then becomes a Megazord. I know that's more the second Toyman or like the hero, Hiro Toyman, but like this Toyman would be doing that too.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's an interesting angle for that. So where I'm going to go with this next one is I'm going to go with, I think about like a character that is a bit more, not necessarily boots on ground, but more of like a character that Eobard would go to for, you know, like government related things to handle stuff. And I'm going to go with Major Force. And the reason why I'm going to go with Major Force is because I think he's the perfect like government stooge, like bootlicker kind of guy that's still really powerful. But I also think the dynamic of a guy like that would probably, you know, kind of do whatever Eobard says. He's like, you know, whatever you say, sir. Like, I think choices that Eobard would make, that Major Force would push to its farthest end, would really piss off Atrocitus, especially if you're looking at like Atrocitus from a more like kind of revolutionary angle and Major Force from a very much kind of propaganda angle. Like, I think there'd be something
and serial
there
killer.
Yes, yeah. I think there's angles there where Atrocitus would hate him, absolutely despise him in certain regards to like choices they make or ways they handle things. I think he'd absolutely despise Major Force. And I think if there's any kind of angle of a story where maybe you focus on like Dr. Destiny and his insanity in a very like human way, where maybe you handle it in a way where Atrocitus is maybe that character that looks at it on a very like understanding level. Cause I do think that there's a part of his character that probably would. Like, I think Atrocitus is probably maybe the most understanding character on this team. I think there's an angle where Major Force would be like, we should just kill a guy like Dr. Destiny. Like, we should just take him out if he's kind of a too much of a wild card. And I think Atrocitus would maybe be in a position where maybe he'd push back on that. And I think that could be very interesting.
Okay, so I'm gonna bust out my wild card.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I mean, technically, we don't have wild cards in this one. It's just any villain.
Well, shoot. I'm going to bust out a wild card anyway.
All right.
So this is a character who isn't necessarily considered to be a villain, but I think with the right with the right convincing, could do some pretty heinous villainous stuff. And the way that you do it is you go to this character and you say, hey, listen, everybody loves a good villain. People want to see the villains succeed, right? Because people love villains because that's what drives the hero. So you let your villains succeed, and then it gives your heroes more gumption, and then you're selling more books. My fourth pick is Grant Morrison.
No.
Okay.
From Animal Man.
The cosmic level writer, right?
Yeah, the writer. Yep. Yeah, it's Grant Morrison from Animal Man, and most recently, Batman and Deadpool.
Okay, interesting. That's definitely the most out there angle we've had so far.
Is it because I was like, you're bringing out the classics and you took that?
No,
personally?
I was just thinking about where can I go with this to make it more interesting. Yeah, but like, think about it.
Yeah.
Who's going to be able to beat this team? Nobody.
Yeah.
You know what he's going to do? He's just going to type on his keyboard.
Yeah.
The heroes have lost. Done.
You do what you want to do. I don't like it, but okay. That's okay. Okay. I'm picking Felix Faust.
Ooh.
Because I want a sniveling kind of villain.
I don't think I know who Felix Faust is.
He's magic based, depending on the story you're telling, but like he's magic based. He's really old. Like sometimes they put him up against Etrigan, but basically, I think the classic. The classic Felix Faust mythology, like in real life, because it was like an actual mythological kind of story. I think he sold his soul to the devil for magic powers. But essentially, in this, I would have him and I think he did sell it to Neron, and so kind of having Felix Faust be kind of a sniveling, cowardly sort of villain working as the avatar of Neron. That's kind of the angle that I would go with, but without complete control over his magic. See where that leads.
He has a big Justice League animated series episode. It was actually the first ever episode I've ever seen of that show. Interesting. Okay, I have an interesting one here. It's definitely a wild card-esque pick. So I think about I don't really have a necessarily huge magic user. Atrocitus kind of does. He's got blood magic, but not necessarily that realm. So I want to take an interesting spin on a magic user, where it's not necessarily a magic user, but a character that can handle things within the magic/magic artifact realm. I'm going to go with, we don't know much about this character right now. I'm going to go with Absolute Hawkman. That's what I'm going to go with for this. I think there's an interesting angle here where I think a lot of the people that Reverse Flash is bringing into this, he understands that not all of them have the same goal. And so there's a bit of a trade-off of things where it's like, Atrocitus isn't trying to like rule the world. Like he doesn't really care about that. I don't even think Eobard wants that. But there's an aspect of this which is like trade-offs of being like, hey, we all kind of want this kind of thing here. We understand that there's going to be a bit of differences in the way that we approach this. And I think somebody like Absolute Hawkman is a character that already kind of is hitting that line of like, you know, like kind of an asshole, kind of this like government stooge in a way kind of character, but also is this, it seems to be still archaeologists who can be that one that knows about these magic artifacts, who can give the right angle of like, hey, we should probably approach this, or hey, maybe don't try to go get this. Hey, let's maybe not do this, but almost in a way, kind of like policing Eobard, where it's like, hey, I'm willing to help you out here, but if you go off the deep end this way, I am going to try to stop you. Where it's almost like, the way I look at it is almost in the way that like a Rick Flag character would interact with the Suicide Squad, where it's like, hey, if you go off the deep end in this way, there's going to be problems. And I kind of view Absolute Hawkman in that way, where it's like, there are aspects of this I'm willing to help you with, but if you go too far in this direction, I'm going to have problems. And I think someone like him and Major Force and Atrocitus, none of them feel like they would go way too crazy, like mwahaha, let's destroy everything, in a way that makes the dynamic of their relationships really interesting. And especially when you have Dr. Destiny on top of everything, that is such a looming X factor of what could possibly happen with this team. So I think it's interesting to see the ways that like a guy like Atrocitus and a guy like Absolute Hawkman would conversate with Eobard about his plans and the strategy, and being like, hey, we're not with you doing that. Hey, that's actually where I'm going to stop you here, or I'm going to push back pretty aggressively. So he's my wild card pick.
Before we move to Drew, question, is he coming from the Absolute DC universe?
Yes. So there would be acknowledgement that he's from the Absolute DC universe. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a hypothesis about that Hawkman.
Yeah.
If you look at the way he's dressed and the insignia, I think he's actually their version of the Blackhawks.
Me too. I thought that as well. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what the rest of that will entail, because I've been thinking about that too.
I also thought about him being Black Adam.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Very, very interesting.
And maybe that's the thing. It's Black Adam and Hawkman, Black Hawk. Like that's
yeah. Good point. Good point.
All right, I'll get to my next one very quickly. It's another classic. I'm going Ra's al Ghul.
Ooh,
nice.
Okay.
Nice.
He knows Batman pretty dang well. He wants to destroy everything so that he can rebuild. I mean, come on. What else is there? What else do you want from a villain?
What else would you want? Maybe someone from the Fourth World? I'm picking Calabac.
I thought about Calabac. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I want just a heavy bruiser, but I also want to, like, his personality. I want him to hit on Cheetah and get fucked up.
I like that. I'm going to pick a really strange pick here. You just got to walk with me here. So I like the idea that Reverse Flash would look at this kind of team and go, if I'm doing things in the background, I want somebody who can kind of be like a front man, somebody who can kind of play the role of like pretend leader of the Legion of Doom and like really be this like cartoonish, stylistic villain that keeps the Justice League on their toes in a way where they think that this guy is the one in charge and this is the guy that's really got these big ploys, and allow him to be the front man, where almost this front man would maybe sometimes even get annoyed by him being kind of like thrown around. This is a very weird pick I'm going to go for here, but I'm going to go with Signal Man. I'm going to go with Signal Man, who's like a more niche Batman villain. This whole thing is just, he's like a failed gangster who just uses signs and symbols and motifs and all this kind of stuff like that. He's got this kind of silly red and yellow outfit. Like, I think he would be like the perfect guy that Eobard like kind of forces into this to be like, you're going to pretend to be this big stylistic guy who's behind all these mischievous things. Like, I think he would be great as like this hilarious front man on Earth. for the things that he's trying to do. And I think it'd be fun to see Signal Man really kind of get a bit annoyed sometimes and be like, hey, bring me into the mix here a little bit. Hey, I'm not just like a funny little guy here. I can do some really serious stuff. I think he'd be like a really fun, dumb comic relief character where he really is just kind of pushed to the side as just like a frontman.
I'm trying to think of who Signal Man is.
If you look him up, you'll find him. He's not used a lot. I love his outfit.
Yeah, okay.
I love his outfit. I think he'd be a funny, random character where, like, if you hear his name for the first time, you'd maybe think like he's like a new character. Like you'd be like, I was just kind of like an OC, like silly character. I think he'd be like a great guy to just have be like a really funny, just insert pretend. Like I like the idea that at some point the Justice League really thinks that he's behind a lot of this, and they really do just eventually crack down on him pretty hard. So I think that'd be really fun.
He's so hokey looking.
Yeah, he's very hokey looking.
Okay.
He's definitely a goofball.
Drew, who's next?
My next one is I was going to save this for last, but then you said you need somebody from the fourth world, and I agree. Granny Goodness.
You're putting Granny. Okay. All right.
Ooh, okay.
Voiced by Ed Asner.
Yes, absolutely. Granny Goodness is just absolutely terrifying.
Yes.
I think that she's in good company with all these people.
Speaking of terrifying, then I'm going to pick Parasite.
Good villain.
I need a utility player that can literally, you can put him up against anyone and he is beaten down a lot. Like he's just going to take your powers and your life force. You know, he's like Rogue, except not as sexy. You know,
I mean that's subjective.
Yeah, you know, is it the more human-looking Parasite or the one with the leech mouth? I don't know, but I don't know what Drew's taste is.
Okay, and so I've got one last pick here.
Yeah.
I think for my last pick here, I'm gonna go with Ocean Master. I'm going to go with Ocean Master because I think he fits as somebody on a more like political, diplomatic climate of it all that could really handle kind of like how Atrocitus is but on a bigger level, just bigger armies. And he's somebody that I could see negotiating with Eobard when it comes to certain things like, hey, we've got this plan. There is stuff in store for you in Atlantis if we can pull this thing off. So kind of a character that like is kind of off and on with the team, but once in a while I was like, okay, you know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I could see him being that character that's kind of just in the mix to be like, all right, if you can help me in this way, I can see working with you. So I'm gonna go with Ocean Master.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. My last one, another classic. It's Brainiac.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, Brainiac is a top tier Superman villain. I think has similar goals to some of the other characters that I've included. Now, I recognize that most of my characters are going to probably be fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of ego in that tiny little thing coming out of the swamp that looks like a helmet. But I also know that the writer could just make it so that they don't do that.
I see them beefing very aggressively. I can see.
For sure they would. They wouldn't be able to get anything done.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like for me, I kept thinking of like Eobard getting very frustrated by how much nobody just wants to stick to a very clear plan. You know what I mean? Like I could just see it very much unfolding where it's like Atrocitus really hating the direction of something and Dr. Destiny constantly being this coin flip of what disaster will happen amongst their plans. I think it could be interesting.
I also think that Eobard Thawne's idea of simple is not the same as like what a normal person's idea of simple.
Which is why Atrocitus would hate him so much, I think. You know what I mean? Because it really isn't simple.
My final one, again, because I'm all about the vibes of this team. Also, for some reason, I love shipping, man. I think it adds, because there's also the idea that like unrequited love is also really fun. But I wanted someone who was equal parts powerful and sexy to throw into this mix.
I can't be on your list.
If Grant Morrison could be on your list, I can pick another DC writer. on my list.
Ooh.
But no, this is somebody that, you don't throw fire into a powder keg. I'm picking Blackfire.
I thought about that for a bit. You know, funny enough, there was a point where I thought about that being my wild card for my Justice League. I was thinking about that
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean
Interesting.
are you talking about like the evil Firestorm?
Yeah. Evil Starfire.
Evil Starfire.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For some reason, when you said that, I thought Deacon Blackfire, the Batman villain. And I was just like, one of these things is not like the others.
Evil Firestorm. You're thinking Deathstorm.
Deathstorm. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Deathstorm. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is Blackfire, which is Starfire's sister. Also, like, I want the idea. There's so many characters at play here. I would love the fact, like, if Blackfire was attracted to Black Manta, but then is constantly manipulating Calabac, because Calabac is also, the type of person that would feel like everybody should be his, right? And so there's a couple of things that play with my team. I like all three of our teams. Also, the idea that all three of our teams could exist at the same time, doing their own things in the background, right? It's like,
I think it's, especially with mine, like, I like the idea that a lot of these guys are pretty discreet, and everyone kind of thinks Signal Man is like the leader of like a new Legion of Doom team. So like, they think of it as all these big leaders and Signal Man,
Signal Man is the wildest on your squad. Grant Morrison is the wildest on Drew's.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I mean, I like all three of our teams, and
Same.
If I was out there, I wouldn't be able to pick which one was my favorite. Other than, mine, because I picked mine, but you guys did a good job on yours. So anyone out there, let us know which of these three you would want as your Legion of Doom. Let us know in the comments, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff.
Super fast, gotta beat the boss and get the loot, 'cause it's the Keeg.